Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our cool clubhouse, our cool kid clubhouse, Questlove Supreme. I'm your host, Questlove. We're given the honor today to celebrate uh, the release of a brand new memoir. I will say that guest number one, of course, is no stranger to this show. If you're also a lifetime vet of hashtag that site, then indeed our first guest should be no stranger. She's been on the show before, music historian.
Don't cry.
What'd you say?
I said, don't cry, because the last time Kathy was on this show, she blessed us with Prodigy. So I'm just having a moment. The last time she was here.
Well,
Yeah, you had to. You had to.
No,
I'm sorry.
start off big, Laia.
Sorry. I just, yeah. So
I love we will never ever get through an introduction without just breaking it. No, for real. I will say this, one of my favorite music historians. She's been penning articles and books and pieces for the greater part of the last 2 decades. Her books include God Save the Queen, God Save the Queens, The Essential History of Women in Hip Hop. She's also released Baby Girl, better known as Aaliyah. And the last piece that she came on the show with, back when our brother Prodigy was still with us on this earthly plane, The Commissary Kitchen, my infamous Done. The forthcoming Little Kim Queen Bee memoir is also on the way. But of course, we are here today to celebrate her particular piece right now with our guest today. I will say multi-platinum, legendary, Grammy Award winning singer, songwriter, mother, actress, entrepreneur, and MC, and West Philly native, born in West Philly. Currently in London. This is like the reverse story of their roots. I had to run away from London. Now you're living in London. She has blazed trails for a greater part of the late 90s, making hip hop history, topping the charts with countless singles and her albums. And right now we're here to get into her brand new memoir, Who's That Girl? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kathy. Okay, I'm not going to mess this up. I'm not going to mess this up.
you can do this. You're from Philly. Come on, do it.
Iandoli, correct? Did I announce it correct?
Iandoli. It's only been 25 years, but Eve comes first.
Dude, I've never called you by your last name.
Ahmir, it's pronounced Rundgren.
Shut up, Steve. And not to be outdone, the legendary.
Their middle name.
No, the legendary. The legendary. I don't even know if I can say Pitbull and skirt. That's too old of a reference. Welcome, Eve, to Questlove Supreme, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
How you guys doing?
Good. Good.
I've not spoken to you since you became. I mean, I've seen you on and off since you became a London native. But where exactly in London do you live right now?
We're in West London, so like near Notting Hill area.
You that near?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, near.
Yeah.
Oh, she has the accent. All right.
I told you some words happen. I can't help it, especially now that I have a kid, because I say stuff for him, so it's consistent. And now it's like it's a lot more. Can't help it.
Oh man, I missed that. Kat, how are you? How you doing?
I'm living the dream. How you doing, Ahmir?
I'm good. I'm good. I'd like to know how what the genesis or the beginning of this putting this memoir together. Because I know that at least as far as I'm concerned, like when I was told to do a memoir, I was like resistant because I thought memoirs and autobiographies are stories for people that like turn 70 and 80, and people don't necessarily like to start reflecting when they're still in the journey of their career. So tell me how like this book came to be.
I would say, well, one, me and Kathy just hit it off. We kind of were talking on a different project, and then once we kind of got into like, it was supposed to be a 30-minute call that turned into like a 2-hour call, and it was just like we kept
kind of like this episode. Okay.
And then we kind of, yeah, the question was like, Kathy asked me kind of like, you ever thought about doing a book? And I was like, yeah, I kind of thought about it. And I've been asked before, years before, and I said no. Like I had said no. I wasn't into it for those reasons you pretty much just named.
Right.
But this book, while it is a memoir, it is a look back, but it's also, we figured a lot of it, and we've talked about this, we figured a lot of it out on the page as it went through. A lot of the things that I talk about in the book are pivotal moments in my life of lessons that I've learned that kind of helped me get over certain things or get to the next place in my career. But then the other thing that kind of made me feel like, yo, I'm really ready to talk about certain things was I was definitely ready to be vulnerable, even more vulnerable about things that I already mentioned in my life, whether that was my drinking situation, my fertility situation. And there are other things in there. But the other thing is having a child, and as cliche as it sounds, I feel that much more whole having that little piece of me. Um, and it made me feel confident to say like, okay, while we're reflecting, it's also about my future. It's also about, with lack of better term, it's the next chapters of my life as well. So
Right.
yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
also go through with Kathy what this book is not about in a way?
Yeah, we definitely talked about it not being salacious, not being like, if people are named, it's not so much like, oh yeah, it's about them, then
Fella.
everything comes back to what that person meant at that time in my life. Particularly, we were very careful about, we didn't want to make a book that was like juicy, because you didn't want it to be boring, but we didn't want it to be like clickbait. We didn't want it to be like, oh, you just naming names to name names. But don't you think, Kathy? What do you think?
Absolutely. But I think the best part about it was like, this is the first time for me that it's collaborative writing too. So it wasn't like me getting a bunch of information, I go run away and do something. Like it was funny watching like Eve write on the page in the Google Doc with me. So it's like,
Oh, you allowed her to do that? I
How is that?
no, it's not that.
Wait, why?
No, it's just I've had that type of battle where I wanted to sort of redo stuff, and they were like, "No,
Uh,
just give us notes, Ahmir. Like,
don't
don't
touch the page.
don't touch the Google Doc. Just give us notes, and we'll adjust." And wow, okay.
Well, talk about that, Kathy, because you said this is the first time. So why was it Eve that you kind of trusted in that way?
Well, Eve trusted me. I mean, that's I think that's more of the,
Even more so, yeah.
yeah, but I think with regard to like in collaboration with other artists that I've worked with and ones for that our future projects, you know, like you mentioned Prodigy and Eve are both Scorpios and I'm a Pisces. So that working relationship is actually like wonderful. But when, with something like a memoir, because, P and I didn't do a memoir, there was so much of like, I didn't take for granted the fact that like Eve was being so open. So making sure that her hands were on the page too is just equally important because this is her life, you know? So being able to kind of go and go through certain things on the page and just like be like, okay, so do you want to go there? Do you not want to go there? You can't, it can't just be me going like off into the wild with my laptop and then bringing back, results. So,
Now, now that I understand that probably the most important part of storytelling is editing.
right.
Like purging is no problem. Like, getting everything out. But I'll say like in any form of creativity, be it music or books or whatever, like editing's the heart. Like what's the process of editing like in terms of what to let go and what to let fall on the floor and how to structure a story?
No, I think, when it comes to, what are you going to keep and, for yourself and what are you going to give to the world? I think it was like kind of like striking that balance where it doesn't necessarily have to be, I'm only reserving all of this for my own personal story and the rest I'll tell. Like I think we split the difference a lot, right, Eve? Like where there's like, okay, I'm going to talk about this, and I'm going to process it. That's the one thing about this memoir that I have to say is very different from so many other memoirs that are out there, is that like it's a lot of Eve processing what happened,
Yeah.
which it provides like this like deeper look. So in the editing process, having to go back in and see what we're able to kind of like take out while still keeping the sentiment, I think, it was the good part was we didn't have a lot of edits from the publisher because we kept going in and doing our thing.
Got it.
Yeah, I can only imagine what y'all had to cut out. As we were getting ready for this interview, I was just saying to Jake, I was like, when you think about Eve, it's been an interesting long 20 years. And for you personally, but also professionally, like the chapters, we were like, we were like, fetish. We were like, oh, the talk. It's just, so for y'all, it had to be amazingly hard to figure out what to cut out in that way.
We definitely got to a point where it was like, okay, how do we want people to read this book? And then we got to a point where we were like, you know what? And this was Kathy's like brilliant idea. She was like, let's make it more like essays, like bite size. So that way you can get in the juicy kind of fun bits that enough that needs to be there that tells the story of if people have been on my journey, they're like, oh yes, I remember that. Okay, that makes sense. And that's when I think we figured it out. Once you said that, Kathy, I think that's when it was like, okay, this makes sense. Because it definitely could have been a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely have kept some things to myself that I felt like I needed to keep to myself.
Understood.
And it's funny because I've been obviously doing interviews for it, and this is such a new process for me that I feel so raw in a way that I've never felt before, ever. But having said that, I feel so proud and confident of the book that we have done. Like I called Kathy. I actually called Kathy the day that I finished the audio. I called her, was like, girl, this is a good book, girl. Like, thank you, girl. Like it was, and I felt so proud. I felt proud. I felt actually like so proud. So yeah, I love Kathy, girl. Thank you, girl.
Now, y'all mentioned the audiobook. Ahmir, can I just, Eve, so wait, the audiobook, I gotta know, is it like straight read, just Eve reading, or are we getting like a little production? In my mind, I was like, it's Swiss Beats.
Is it immersive?
So I wish.
Yeah.
Trust me when I tell you, I wanted that. I wanted a little more like try to get something, but the publisher's it's still fun, it's still good. There's emotion, like you definitely feel parts of it. But yeah, I wanted to do a little bit more, but they just
But she is an actress, so I'm still excited,
You'll feel things. You get emotion and things. So yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
Okay, so as a Philadelphian, I will ask you, what are your earliest memories of growing up in Philadelphia? You were born in West Philly, correct?
West Philly, yeah.
What part?
Down 46th Street.
The bottom?
The bottom. From the
What?
bottom.
Of course.
No, I used to date a girl at the bottom, and my dad was like, "Where are you walking to?" No,
Right?
I'm just going to 46th Street, the bottom. That's how I found out what a bottom was.
I'm from there. So Mill Creek Projects, that's where I'm from.
What?
Yeah, from Mill Creek. So yeah, I mean, my earliest memories of Mill Creek is music and noise, kids, the building I lived in, because I was born in the building and we moved to the little houses outside. Block parties, DJs, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even back then was crazy back in the day. I know, like, there used to be food trucks back in the day. Like, that, I remember that in the summertime. Like, I remember food and music and, Yeah, those are my earliest memories actually of Philly.
Like, what were your earliest memories of uh listening to hip hop or discovering hip hop and like actually becoming an MC? Like, what were your earliest memories of that?
Earliest memories of hip hop come through my Aunt Karen, who I talk about in the book, who to me was the epitome of hip hop. She was, she loved LL. So we always heard music. The radio was always on. I loved Queen Latifah, Salt and Pepper. That was always on. My dad was a DJ. So music was always somewhere around me. And then as a like I started writing poems first, and then I joined the choir, and then I sang, and then ABC came out, and I wanted to rap, and then and then I had
Another bad creation.
another bad creation. That's when I was like, I want to rap. Like, I want to sing and I want to rap and I want to dance. I want to do everything. And then, yeah, and then I would have like little groups, like my friends, and I would do all the block parties, all the little talent shows, the school talent shows. I was nonstop. Like, I was that kid that was like, I have to do something. I got to be busy. So I was always, even if I was just singing somebody else's song, I was doing a talent show. Um, and then when I turned 15 is when I was like, this has to be my life. Like, I want to be an MC, period, point blank. I knew I didn't want to go to college. I knew I wanted to pursue music.
Got
100%.
it. Where did you go to high school?
Martin Luther King.
Oh,
You went to King?
King's still open too, right? Oh.
Yeah, it's open, but isn't it like a charter? I think it's a charter or
Yeah,
something.
it definitely changed. It ain't what
Wait,
it was.
what?
Some things going down at King.
Yeah,
He
Seriously?
got
on Stanton Avenue.
That was
Great.
our Lean On Me school.
That was the Lean On Me school. We talk about that in the book. We talk about that in the book.
All right. So, obviously, uh, I want to get the white elephant out the room right
come
now.
on, let's go.
Oh, look at oh, all right, damn it.
Well, at least like the whole conversation. How it? Yeah, come on, I'm ready.
No. You know what? Because this is the thing. I want this to be because I listened to the music episode and the Jill episode. I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe a third time in a row.
Beautiful, probably version. She probably has a beautiful version of the
No,
story.
you know what's weird? I actually had the last 3 months, and when I'm talking about my therapy sessions.
Oh shit.
There have been a lot of conversations about how I suck at communication.
Oh.
And this has been so when breaking this down in various exercises I have to do, I now realize how what went down between the Roots and Eve went down. Here's the quickest version because this is still Eve's episode. This is not the Roots.
No, it's good.
This is not the Roots Mia culpa version, but this is the most distinct version that I know of.
The kilo version.
Yeah, I'm ready for this.
My version.
Not glasses on.
I only know my
Probably
version.
went full glasses.
So this is what I know. For Things Fall Apart to be our like career defining album, I'm very, very shocked at how cohesive it sounds for a unit that pretty much piecemealed that album together without like communicating with each other. So the shortest version of it is that there was a period in 97 or 98 in which by that point we had always recorded everything at Sigma Sound Studios in the former Philly International Classic Songs Made studio, Sigma. There was a period that we got kicked out of Sigma for about 2 weeks. Without getting too personal to it, we covered the subject on the next album, Phrenology, concerning our beloved fallen soldier Malik's struggles with his addictions. And that got us kicked out of Sigma for about 2 weeks. Fatine of Kindred, the Family Soul, recommended to us that we move operations to what we now lovingly call the studio, named the studio, Larry Gold Studio, which will subsequently be still our home, technically, for the last like 2.5 decades. 2 weeks into recording there, I realized that I don't like his boards. And so, kind of hat in hand, I go to the owner, Joe Tarsi of Sigma, and say, look, I know we've been kicked out the studio and banned from the studio, but like, I was using my dad. If I promise not to bring people around here, can I still remain here and record? He thought about it. He granted it. So he allowed me and Scott and certain members back into the studio to record. So what winds up happening is there becomes a triangle of creation. So all the music is recorded at Sigma, and then we send those tapes. Well, you might as well say, because we can't hear what you're saying. Anyway.
I'm just whispering to the people that this is about You Got Me, just so they know what we're doing here. We're setting it up.
So thus, we will record music at our studio and then send the tapes to the studio where Tariq and Malik are and Richard. So basically, I will say that every song that ever appeared on Things Fall Apart, I'm hearing it as a song for the first time when I'm mixing the song. So, which is very unusual, because normally it's like, hey, we made it, here's the completed song. You want the demo? Because of my back and forth with D'Angelo and really not, even though I was very present for this record, I'm also working with D'Angelo. So I'm hearing everything for the first time. I'm hearing the next movement, like song titles. Oh, what's this one? What's the Hawaii song called? The Next Movement? Oh, okay, cool. Let me hear it. Oh, that's cool. Oh, what's this called? Oh, okay. Step Into the Room. Literally, so when we finally got to You Got Me, there was a gap in verse 2 where there was no rhyming from Tariq. And I was never told there was another guest on it. So there was like a 20-minute back and forth. Like, we can't find Tariq's vocal. Where is it? Where is it? And Rich is like, turn up track 18. And I turn it up and I'm like, wait, who's this? He's like, Eve. Who's Eve? He's like, Eve, the joint for the jam sessions. I'm one of those members of the Roots that's sort of like just, why you look so disappointed, Laya?
I'm disappointed. I just wanted you to get to it. And I want to hear E's version. So we about to hear this twice because I know that it's a different story. But I'm
right.
I'm
ending the story now. So
Okay.
as a result, one, You Got Me was the very last song. When I mean very last song, like we should have turned the album in 2 weeks ago. Before that was the last song worked on the album. Meaning I had already did credits and all that stuff. Yeah, so thus it became this weird thing of like, wait a minute, like what? Who's this? Like, I literally didn't know until the day of mixing that Eve existed. By the way, Ain't Say Nothing New, which you're also on, was a last minute song added on the record as well. She's doing backgrounds.
Okay.
Right. So it was just a lot of
Eve has her hand raised. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, that's basically so even to the miscommunication of even the morning of shooting the video, because Kilo was like, wait, why didn't y'all invite her to the video? And I was like, well, I don't know. Like, I thought you guys invited her. No, I thought you invited her. Well, Rich, did we invite her? No, we didn't invite. And it was
Jesus Christ.
So we were just extremely inconsiderate.
He's sorry.
And so insolent and so insular and so non-communicative with each other that things like that always spilled on the sidelines. But I never wanted you to think it was a thing where it's like, let me erase her out of history.
No, I didn't think of it so much like that. Everything you're saying makes complete sense. I totally understand. I didn't think of it like that. What I took it as is like, here is this girl I wasn't signed at the time. Nobody did know who I was at that time. So I kind of took it as, well, you guys were like, this was a huge record. Then Eric got on it. So it did feel like, oh shit, because someone said somewhere, sent to the person that I was hanging out with, the girl who was kind of like helping me out in New York. I lived in New York at the time.
Mm-hmm.
got an address, but nothing was at this address. So I don't know it became a miscommunication, possibly. What all that you're saying makes complete sense, but I definitely felt like, damn, they lied to me about the address. They ain't want me in the video.
Oh wait,
But
what happened?
You got up and got dressed for the video and they sent you the wrong address.
yes, yes, it felt like it was like, oh, that's
Oh
not
shit, I didn't even know this part.
Oh, y'all
yeah.
we deserve a redo. Is it too late?
Well, let's go back in time to 30
You know
years
what's
ago.
amazing since all of that has happened? Like the story has been told, but we've performed together since then. We've seen each other since then.
We
So it's like
performed.
Y'all done You Got Me together?
in New
Yeah,
York a
we did it.
long time ago. It was a long time ago. It was a
Really?
long
We did it like
time ago.
3 times. We did it
Yeah,
once at Electric Factory. Once I
yeah.
remember.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
for
yes.
the Grammy party.
Yeah, I think we did it once, like
But I
in
remember that.
when the album came out.
Yeah.
We've done it.
We've done it, but
Yeah,
it's still like, it's one of those things because it's like, it's such weirdly, because I was in such a holding pattern at that time in my career. I was like this unknown, but signed, but no budget, no nothing yet. But I was signed and I was working on music. It was such a weird place. Even I was kind of in purgatory-ish for a
Mhm.
minute as well. So like, yeah.
And is the story, Eve? Because the urban legend that I always heard was that Kilo
Yeah.
Sanders was the one that introduced you to that process of that song. But how did you become the Eve and You Got Me? How did you?
I, you know what's funny? I don't remember who said come through to the studio because I used to
Uh-huh.
kind of just be around. I don't know if it was Scott or was it Keela. I don't really remember how it kind of happened because I used to come through to the studio. So I don't know who, you know what I'm saying? Like it was kind of almost like, oh shit. It might have even been like, oh shit. Oh, Eve would be dope on this. I don't know I don't remember
Can I
exactly.
ask y'all a question? Because at the time,
Mhm.
for y'all, I'm watching your careers as a radio personality in Philadelphia, right? And what's interesting is for most of us who were there, we understood that like the first time we really heard Eve commercially was on You Got Me. However, being a Philadelphia radio personality, it was interesting to see your careers grow, right? So for the Roots, y'all became international every other city but Philly. And it was interesting because for Eve, not only did you do all that, but you also became like a Philadelphia hero in
Really?
that way. Yeah. And I always wondered what that was like for y'all going those directions.
I don't know. I mean, I think because I was still so close to Philly being in New York, like my
Mhm.
career was still just kind of. So I was with the Rough Riders, I was in Harlem or Yonkers most of the time. So I was so close to Philly for the first beginning of my first
That's
probably 2 years of my career, really.
And when
Like
you
I
weren't around, I would tell people like your mom would fill in. She would show up
okay,
at community events and stuff.
literally, my mom was like always there. So like, yeah, maybe that's what it was. Because I didn't really go international at all, probably until mid second album, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How about for you, Amir? What was that?
We had to leave Philadelphia
Yeah.
to move to London
Yeah.
to make any kind of. I mean, at that time, the only example I knew of was Jimi Hendrix, and it was like he couldn't get arrested. Well, it's not that he couldn't get arrested in the United States, but I don't think the United States was necessarily ready for a primitive, exotic
Yeah.
But
black man.
had you been watching Eve's Rise? Because at the time she's got like 2, 3 radio hits, you know what I mean? And whatnot. And so that's what I just thought it was interesting in that way. That.
Yeah, in my mind, I was like, yeah, this is about right. This I was like, yeah, this sounds about right. Like just the story of the narrative of because the thing was the last part of the story was when we did Woodstock 3, X was mad as shit. Like we had a back we shared a backstage with X and I forget the other act. DMX, The Roots, and a whole bunch of James Brown, like Jamiroquai. Everybody's like on Woodstock 3. And we walk in and like the talking that you get right before you get a whipping from your pops. When he starts talking like this. When when black men start talking with the back of their hand on the left palm, I gotta ask y'all something. Why y'all do Eve dirty like that?
No, did he for real?
Oh, dog, he read us the riot act, yo.
No,
And
oh, I love that. I'm like, I
he
love that so much. Oh, I love that so
he
much.
read
Dear,
us the
thank you for
riot
telling
act.
that story.
Oh, I
Oh,
love that so
Yes,
much.
he
But that's him though. That's X, man. Maybe he
oh,
yeah,
Eve,
I
he
please tell us a story.
he
no
read
man,
us the riot act about that. And
I
I was
never
like, all
do
right,
that
I
ever.
gotta
I
make this
never
right.
ever
I
do
have
that.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
And what
yeah.
did
Wow.
y'all say? What y'all say? Okay.
What you say?
No, the thing I think at the time I was like, well, dude, she's like the biggest thing since sliced bread. Like she wasn't gonna blow up on us. Like, if anything, we needed her, then that, like, she got the last word. Cause simply because even with the Eve story, even with the Jill story and the Erica, like, You Got Me was a mess all over the place. There was the Erica Jill thing. There was the your situation. Like, it was so many small compartments that it was almost like, yeah, we deserve this screaming. All right,
Yeah.
let us hear X. So we just took it. I mean, of course, we got cool later, but he was mad as shit that day.
Oh my God, that's
But no, dude, I've always been proud of her. This is what I didn't know. So even when I'm asking Rich, who is this person? He brought up to me that you were part of what we now know as the Black Lily Jam Sessions, that you were coming to the jam sessions.
I used to be there all the time.
At Amir's house?
I mean, not all, yeah, I mean, not all the
Yes.
time, but I was there. Like,
Come on.
I'm not lying, like by week
I
5.
used to just be around, and I think it was like one of those things where people knew what I did, but maybe, it was everybody hung out. It became one of those things, like, because it just was, I was just an artist hanging out. It wasn't, you know how it is, you know how it gets.
Yeah.
Like,
But it's very Philly though. It's not, it's special. It was still a special
yeah.
time.
Oh,
Like
100%,
like
100%.
when I the straw that broke the camel's back for me was when 10-year-old Jasmine Sullivan was just hanging in the living room. By week 5, I mean, you've heard the stories. Ahmir would call the cops on his own party.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't show up. Like by week 5, I was
Elo, good cop. Amir, bad cop.
Love it.
yeah, like it was my crib. Like the next day, no one's around to pick up beer bottles and beat burnt beaties on my rug.
Oh, not a beatie.
It was the 90s, yo.
Yeah.
Beat.
Yeah,
No.
so
Nostalgic for beaties. Shit.
yeah, like
Emotional.
so by week 5, I had been protesting my own jam session. And by week 5, yeah, like I apparently missed John Legend being in my crib. I missed Beans, Freeway, Chris and Neef, Bilal. Well, Bilal was hard to miss because he was like yodeling back in 1997 when nobody was doing primitive yodel noises in jam sessions. But I mean, pretty much, I would say that I was disconnected to the jam sessions in my own living room until it moved to the 5 spot, of which it was out of my house. So
And Eve was gone by then. She was soaring.
literally.
Yeah.
But what I want to know is, okay, because You Got Me isn't your first debut. A year before, you were on the Bulworth soundtrack as Eve of Destruction. So can you tell the story of how your brief journey, I guess, with Dr. Dre first before you went to Rough Riders?
Yeah. So Dre was, I mean, Aftermath was my first record deal.
Right.
And that song was a demo. It was one of the demo songs I did for Dre. I basically met Mike Lynn like during the week, like my homeboys that was my managers at the time, drug dealer slash managers, was like, yo, come through. Mike Lynn is coming to my house, but I've told this story many times, but pretend to be the weed girl because he thought I was selling some weed. And then so I was like, okay. And then I get to the house and we put on music immediately and I start rapping. And he's like, what the fuck is going on? Why is the wee girl rapping? Um,
Right.
but then he listens and they quickly talk to him like, yo, I know you ain't gonna hear nobody else, but I'm telling you, you need to hear her. And he was like, all right, fuck it, you're here. And I start rapping and he calls Dre right there, like, yo, I think we found our girl. And that weekend I got flown to LA to
Hmm.
do a demo with Melman.
Right.
And that song, Eve of Destruction, he took it and put it on the Bulworth soundtrack, which was like, how is this happening? Like, I was like, first demo, first professional, real demo. I did demos all the time, but like, first one that's shit's on the line, and for that to be put on the soundtrack was crazy. It was
How
crazy.
how did you? Okay, so the one thing I'm obsessed with now, like that I'm older,
Yeah.
is the amazement when artists don't get in their own way or figure out how to mess it up when they get an opportunity.
I did mess it up though. I messed it up. And
Well,
but
I
months
mean, but
later.
you're still here though. So,
No, so this is why I'm gonna tell you why I'm here. I
okay.
okay.
messed up and got dropped and got humbled. And then I had another chance, and that's how I got signed to Rough Riders. So the 8 months that I was in LA with Dre,
Hmm.
I was Philly feisty and was showing up to sessions I wasn't supposed to be at. Like, when am I recording? You got me all the way out, and I was being super.
He's clapping in his face.
That's
Yeah.
all day, all day.
You got me all the way out in LA. Like, I thought I was supposed to be recorded. Like, I was super Philly. And then I got dropped because he was like, I can't deal with this. Like, what's happening? So I got
Ah,
sent back
damn.
to Philly after I had a big going away party, after I've been living in a condo, living had a bank account, everything, back in my mom's house, had to catch the bus again, all of that. And at that time, I decided I wanted to drop the of destruction because I had a talk with myself. Like, if I ever get this opportunity again, who is it I want to be as an artist? Who do I want to show the world? And I was like, I just want to be Eve. And then I got the phone call to go to Yonkers, and I was like, okay, this is it. This is it. I got
What
to
was the
rap.
moment from them that felt like this was it? Like, what was that?
I was like, one, and it's funny because I talk about Jimmy Iovine in the book. But he was the person that was like, because he could have dropped me. I was obviously Aftermath Interscope.
Right.
Jimmy could have been like, oh, cool. Like, you dropping this girl, we don't need her anymore. He decided to keep me. Jimmy was the one that decided to keep me and was like, I think Rough Riders would be a good fit for you. And that's when I got the call from management again, like, yo, Jimmy called and said, we need to go to Yonkers to meet Rough Riders, which I had already known of the Rough Riders. Like, I met X when I was signed to Dre already. So I used to kind of hang out with them when he would come to LA. Melman actually introduced me. So we'd be in the same, at the same places and whatever. And when X had a show, I would go. So they knew me kind of.
And ain't
But
the
they
Rough
never.
Riders, they also are a Philly crew as well. I always got confused with that, with the bikers. Like it was a whole Philly.
It's a whole national thing. So, like, yeah, you know
Okay.
how Philly is. Philly
Yeah.
love their bike. So there was a huge Rough Rider like set of people in Philly for sure that repped Rough Riders more for riding than they did for music.
Right. Okay.
Um, so yeah, once I got that call and I was like, okay, we going up here. I have to make this happen. Like, I have to make this happen. This is the moment. This is the moment.
Was there a song moment that when you was working on something, you was like, this shit just clicks. Like this is it. Like,
It wasn't so much that, with Rough Riders, they treated us like it would, and I've said this before, but it was like a boot camp. So when I finally got signed to Rough Riders, they would have us in different rooms. Like, some artists, they'd be like, same beat, we all writing on the same beat, but we would be in separate rooms. And
The
D
Motown
or
method.
Y, yeah, and D or Y would come in and be like, let me hear what you got. Let me hear what you got. And see, whose ever fucking verse was hottest would get on the beat or whatever. So it was constant, like, it was where I learned how to write an actual song, because I'm a battle rapper. That's how I was bars. I was 16, 24 bars in ciphers. That was who I was. I didn't know how to make a song. I knew what a hook was, but I didn't know how to do that myself.
So in those 8 months, did you work with Dre at all personally?
Maybe like once. I worked with a lot of different other producers. It really didn't work with
Everyone
Dre.
under his tools,
Yeah.
like Mike Elizondo, or
Yes,
I get it.
exactly. But even then, within that time, at at Aftermath, there were no real A&Rs. Really. I think Dre was great at, and especially because, he's a producer, artist, but I think it was, and that's why when Eminem got signed, it was easy. That was easy because Eminem came fully formed in a way, if that makes
Right.
sense. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So, I think whenever they needed to figure out how to place someone or how to direct them, it just didn't work out. Yeah. Yeah.
Assuming that because you've done like your most powerful work with Swizz, how are you two even communicating in terms of what it is that you want to do? And the thing is, I feel like in 97, both Swizz and the Neptunes kind of paradigm shifted hip hop to this other direction. Like what kind of where we are right now, where it's like do it yourself, bedroom producer, keyboard beats, piano beats, like the tradition of how beats were made before the Neptunes and before Swizz was one way, and then these guys get in the door and do it a whole nother way. So I mean, at the time, like what's the working relationship with how you and Swizz make songs together?
Swiss is great. I always call him a bouncing ball because Swiss is like energy. And it is so infectious. So we sometimes would bang out like 3, 4 songs a day. Like, just like, and some of that shit was cool. Some of it wasn't. Some of it was piece, it was little piece. Maybe it's a hook over here, but here's a verse here. So maybe we take this, whatever. But and even though Swiss was family, because I always say I'm the adopted kid of the Rough Riders, because everybody else are either actual blood family or like from Yonkers, from Harlem or whatever. They
They
all
know
knew.
each other, right?
But with me and Swiss, we both had something to prove. Same age, same position, basically. So we just clicked, and energetically, we just got each other, and it's the same to this day. Like, yeah, we just get each other.
What you
And
mean it's the same to this day? Y'all in the studio?
oh no, no, that was good. That was good. No, but is we both know what we gravitate towards, like sound wise or whatever. Because sometimes it's been a while now, I will say, but sometimes we'll send a song or send a beat, or he'll send me something and be like, oh, you might like this, whatever. It's been a while for that, but yeah, I feel like we both knew we had something to prove, but we also wanted the same. We wanted to be like at the top of the pecking order in a way, because not that they never played us against each other, they never pitted us against each other, but you felt it within the crew. It was healthy competition, and you wanted to be that next one that was called to get on the verse or called to make the beat. So we both had that same like, nah, we gotta make this happen. Let's fucking do it. Let's do it. So yeah.
I was gonna ask when you figured out the hook thing, because you said that if you didn't know how to do hooks, but then you became good at it.
Figured it out.
Yeah.
Darren helped me with that. Darren Dean, Darren and Wah. I think just being in the studio, and as we got closer to like when we really figured out, like, okay, when I was picked, I would say after the Rough Riders anthem, and they were like, "You're next to do the album." Then it became like, all right, you need to, and he already was doing this anyway. Like, you know how Philly people, we talk fast sometimes. So he used to just be like, you need to lay back a little bit more. Now end it here, do 8 bars over here, do this over here. Like, so it took it was just, I guess, coaching, really. It was coaching. Yeah.
I'll say probably the song on your debut that resonated with your fan base, of course, is Love Is Blind. Can you talk about just the genesis of how that song came to be
Yeah.
and the process behind it?
Yeah, I wrote that. I wrote it as a poem when I was 16
Hmm.
because my friend at the time, she was 17. She was dating this dude. He might have been like, I don't know, 28, 30 something. He used to keep her in an apartment, like all that kind of stuff. But he used to beat her. And he was married, like all of that. And sometimes she would come to my house, she have a black eye or she has like some bruises on her, or whatever. And then she got pregnant for him, had his baby. He wasn't there. I held the baby first. I was there while she got the epidural. I'm 16, she's 17. Like,
Hmm.
so I wrote the first two verses of Love is Blind is the poem. And then when I decided to turn it into a song, I just added that third verse for obviously dramatics, because I obviously didn't kill anybody. But then when that beat and the hook, I just wanted to keep it super simple, like love is blind, and it'll take
Hmm.
like it's so simple, but it really was how I felt. Like she really did love this dude. Like we were so young. Like, um,
I was just watching a clip of you and her. I said, Eve has always been forthright because I just saw a clip of y'all from forever ago. Of you and Andrea, that was her name,
uh,
and her on stage, and y'all talking about that. Do y'all keep in communication at all, or?
oh, I haven't spoken to her in years. We kept in touch for a while. Like once I kind of got into the industry.
Mhm.
Um, And then even once I was on the road, she moved in with my mom. She with her kid. Like it, we tried to, and then things just fell apart, sadly.
Life be life. Life be
Life,
life.
life be life, and also it was one of those things too. And I talk about this in the book that I tried to take all of my friends on tour because I felt like I didn't want them to think that I was changing, and
Mm.
it's not a good idea, guys.
Ah.
I'd recommend not doing that.
Yeah.
Did you give them jobs? They gotta have
I
something to do.
gave them jobs, but they
Okay.
didn't do them. I gave them I
Yeah.
They
remember, and
never
I
do.
talk about this in the book as well. For my friend who had the baby, Andrea, I gave her a bit more because I was like, she has a kid, and then but she told one of the other people, and then they was like, well, why she get more money than like it
Ooh,
just
silly. Ooh.
became a thing. Yeah, I don't recommend doing that.
Hey,
It
can
was,
I
it
ask you?
was
Because
go ahead, yeah.
we haven't talked about this, but you have. It feels like Rough Riders was a nice, comforting place, but you have always been the women in a male place, and I know you talk about this in the book a lot. But can you talk about like protection in that way or armor? Like, were you protected, or did you have heavy armor on yourself? Were there situations when you couldn't use either one? I mean, can you just talk about it?
I definitely was protected. I feel so lucky, thankful, grateful that I was in the crew that I was in
Yeah.
because they protected me, respected me, and celebrated me for sure. So I think I was lucky in that way. But outside of that, um, I'm just trying to figure my life out. Like I'm young, I got money now, I'm famous like I want to be, but don't nobody tell you about fame. I'm drinking, I'm smoking weed, I'm trying to keep up with my friends. I gotta perform, I gotta make decisions that like it was so much at one time and it happened so fast. Everything happened so fast. And then you're exhausted. I was exhausted in a way that I never even knew what that was. Like I don't you so I think in a lot of ways, the armor that I did have for myself personally just got broken down and chipped away.
Yeah.
Um, I had a breakdown. I had to quit my first tour. Um,
Wow.
I had a lot of stuff that went on, and it took me a long time to come back to a sanity and a happiness, which is what I prayed for when I had my breakdown. Like I was like, I don't give a fuck about fame. If I can get my sanity and my happiness back, I can do anything.
Yeah, because I hope y'all
Um,
make clear in this book that Eve was a first in a lot. So therefore, she didn't have a lot of peers that could be like, hey, do this. I mean, you were the first. I felt like you were the first female MC to have a successful clothing line, the first to have a TV show, like all these first. So now it's easier for everybody else because Eve kind of opened the door.
I was going to ask. I often try to do the whole birds of a feather flock together thing, like try to uh gravitate towards people of like-minded or whatever. Um, did you ever feel there was a pressure on you, or I mean, was there ever a network with your peers at the time? Like, were you ever close to Kim or Fox or Lauren, where you just talk about things, or were you kind of in this thing isolated? And you can add in too, Kathy. Like I know often that when we speak of women in art or isolated women in high places, that they don't work well together, or the
The
perception
Aretha formula, right?
that there's not a community there where there should be. I mean, is commonality of just being a woman enough to form a bond, or
Wow.
It
I'm trying to.
depends on the other
That's
woman.
good. That's good.
That's a good question. When I got signed, I thought it was this big sisterhood. So like I was such a nerd. I used to run up to everybody and be like, girl, you so much, girl. I used to listen to you all the time, girl. What you get on my album, girl? Like, and they would be looking at me like this fucking nerd. Like, who the fuck? Who the fuck is this? Like we talked about this, Kathy. And the first time I met Kim, I was like, girl, me and my friends used to smoke weed to you all the time in a hatchback, like smoking my album, girl. And she was just like, wow. Like it
That's
was
a lot.
very overwhelming. Like, and I learned, it took me a minute to learn, like, oh, it's really not like that. There's not a sisterhood here. And I do think a lot of it was people, the industry, crews, whatever it was, pitting each other against each other. Because why can't we get along? Why can't we hang out? Why?
Right.
It's only us little minority. We should be hanging out. That's not to say, listen, I love Missy. I love Trina. Have always been.
Right.
You know, my people always have been. Kim, I've loved. We had a situation. I love her to death now. Like, but it was more of a misunderstanding. It wasn't even because of us. You know what I'm saying? So I think sometimes there's this.
Sometimes they don't want y'all to compare paychecks and things like that too, and budgets and
Could
things.
be that. And 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, Kathy, you can speak to this too, but I just feel like, you know, it's sad. Why? Why can't we hang out? Shit.
What you say, Kathy? You did the research.
I mean, it's the first lady trope, right? So it's like this idea that like mentally it's always like I'm the first lady of this crew. So I mean, because I media coach all the new girls and I see that they don't have a crew where they're singled out and they're all hanging out now.
They are, yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, it's interesting to see.
It's interesting. I like to see. I see Megan with glow, and I'm like, oh, I love it. You know, it's beautiful. But it's also it was an evolution because also
Yeah.
it was a time when they felt like female MCs needed a male crew, and so these girls have to know that.
It's true. It did. It was the cosign. It was the cosign back in the day. It's true. Yeah.
Well, one, how did you feel about Let There Be Eve breaking the barriers that it did? I mean, it not only broke barriers just for women in hip hop, but just hip hop in general. Like a number one album is a number one album, no matter how you slice it. It's a victory for, you know, the art form itself. But going into making Scorpion, um, what was your mental state, at least as far as um, your creative process, the feeling of pressure, and
Yeah.
how keeping that momentum going?
Yeah, I definitely felt the pressure. I definitely felt that people were like, can she do it again? Is it gonna be as good? Like that sophomore curse or whatever, that is
Mhm.
something I definitely thought about. But that being said, I definitely felt like I wanted to, I don't know, expand a little bit more, maybe do something slightly different. I always feel like it was weird because I didn't have the same. I always feel like my first album is the album I wrote. I've been writing that my whole life. And then you get in the business and they're like, you need to hurry up and put out another album. And you're like, shit, I got 2 months where I've been working on this one piece of thing forever. You know what I mean? Like I've been waiting to show the world this one thing. Um, so the only cohesiveness I really had about the second album, like Scorpion, was like, I want everything to be red. I want red hair. Like that was the only kind of things I could kind of control and think about. And the
Right.
songs we kind of just did. You know, it was the first time I really traveled. We did it. We did the whole album in Miami. The whole crew came down.
Mm.
Um, so it was kind of just being in the studio to see what would strike, what would happen. And then, you know, we did get I had to fly to LA with Dre, do Blow Your Mind, which was great, with Scott Storch.
Was that the last song you worked on?
Wasn't the last, but probably close to last. I don't know if it was the last, but it was probably close to last.
I always feel like
To
the
say, I
biggest
love
hits.
that for y'all. I love that for y'all, how y'all intermingle like that. Like the Scott moment just gave me like oh yeah, Scott, Roots. Sorry. Yeah, it's like that's dope. Sorry.
But also, yeah, I always find the bigger songs are the last ones down the line. There's one song in particular I always wanted to know about. Um, you got to you had Tina Marie on your album.
Yes.
What was it like working with her? She did Life is So Hard, I think.
Wow.
Yes. I
Yeah,
had to have
like
her on my album.
Wow.
I just was like, it was a dream come true to me because me and my friends used to listen to her, you know, who didn't? But I
Mhm.
feel like Philly loved Tina Marie. I don't know, like, I guess everywhere did, but I feel like she was a part of my music growing up as well. Um, and I had to have her on that album. I didn't get a chance to work with her though. I think we talked on the phone or something, but we
oh,
didn't
and she
do,
did it at her studio.
yeah, because
Okay.
she was signed to Cash
Uh,
Money.
Cash
Crazy.
Money at the time.
That's right. That was the
Uh,
last thing she.
so crazy. Um, but yeah, I just was so like thankful, grateful, legend. Like, yeah.
You pretty much started pivoting really by album one. By album two, you know, you were um already doing acting and sort of expanding, um, doing shows and whatnot. Can you just talk about in general uh, the feeling of, um, I guess, when the world is your oyster? Um,
Hmm.
and and I'm asking this in terms of I'm kind of studying people who get these opportunities, and again, um, self-sabotage is in a kind of an obsession of mine and watching other artists operate.
Yeah.
But getting these opportunities, you know, doing the barbershop series or getting your own sitcom, like at this time, is it just
Um, what I will say that was Troy Carter's.
Thank you for saying his name.
Yeah, I know, you know, I've known Troy since I was like 15.
Mhm.
And then he became my manager. Mark Byers was my manager first, and then Troy
Thank you for
Carter.
saying his name, Lord Jesus.
Yes, love Mark Byers.
Shout out
Mark,
to Mark.
shout out to Mark. And Troy, you know, Troy came from the Overbrook Will Smith camp.
Hmm.
So that for him, that blueprint was very easy of like music, we're gonna act, we're gonna go if you want longevity. So I was kind of like, okay, cool. I was kind of just like, let me see how it goes. And at first I was actually opposed to acting because I was like, I make music. I don't really want to act.
I was going
Like,
to I was going to say most people will figure out a billion excuses to not do it.
yeah, I
It's like
tried.
going down a San Francisco hill with no brakes. Like,
I did try, and you know what happened? This is why Troy was good. He was like, look, why don't you meet with an acting coach? If you hate the process, I will never bring it up again. And my acting coach was Tracy Moore Marable, who is amazing. And at the time,
Damn.
yeah, she had been working with pretty much every rapper that was starting to act. She was like, it was like she was doing Busta, Ludacris, like everybody. And I met her and she literally said to me, because I was like, well, I don't know if it's for me, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, you know, every time you do a video, yeah, basically acting. And I was like, done. And I was like, and that just like opened my whole brain up to accepting, like, all right, well, let me try, you know. And I am very much that person though, in my personality. I am a very much like, well, let me see. Let me just see. I am that person. So she opened that part up.
what was the first, the barbershop or Triple X?
So Barbershop was the first official role I got that I read for. Triple X came by mistake because the rapper that was supposed to do it, and I believe it was Ludacris, I think he got sick
Mm.
or something. And I happened to be in LA at that time.
Okay.
And we got a call, Troy got a call, like, would she want to come do this movie? Like, and I was like, yeah, well, fuck it. So that was the first movie, but official role was Barbershop Terry.
I love how everything happened for a reason because Luda wasn't supposed to be in that movie with him. He was supposed to be in Ben Diesel. He's supposed to be in Fast and Furious.
Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
think it was Luda. I'm pretty sure it was Luda. Pretty sure. Did we say that in the book, Candy? I can't remember, child. My brain.
I don't know if we said his
I don't think
name.
I say his name, do I? I don't think I say his name, but I'm pretty sure it was him. I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100%, but yeah, maybe I'm
By
wrong.
the way, I just want to also mention for the people listening, like the beautiful parallel of you and Troy Carter's career and how we wouldn't have not only just you, but a person named Lady Gaga. Like,
Troy is listen, we don't speak often. We had a
mm,
moment where when we kind of split ways, that was probably one of my hardest relationship breakups because we had been
Hmm.
together for a long time and he did a lot for me. But we every birth because we're both Scorpios as well, so we do happy birthdays every year to each other. And when I see, I've run into him over the years, and it's all love always. He's amazing.
our
Yeah.
Black Bill Gates of such.
Okay. Yeah.
What's the one thing that you wish kind of I don't mean like A Christmas Story, Jacob Marley, where a ghost visits you and warns you about something, but if you could go back in time, what's the one bit of advice that you wish you could dole to your young adult self?
Probably to truly trust your gut. I got to a point, there was a few years in my like where I just did not trust myself or trust any of the like decisions that I was making for some reason. I just didn't trust my gut. I couldn't feel my gut. And I think it had a lot to do with my anxiety.
Hmm.
Um, and I was drinking. So yeah, a lot of that. Um, I definitely would not have numbed myself as much as I tried to numb myself. That probably would be the biggest thing to stay. But there's so many, as artists, and when you feel so much, you see
Hmm.
so much. And I think that I was just trying, I don't know, to try to stay grounded. But all that
Mm.
shit is learning as well. You know what I'm
Would you
saying?
would you say that I mean now we kind of live in an era in which um artists are really transparent about their mental health recovery and sort of actively participating in be it therapy or life coaching or that sort of thing. Um, did you ever not dabble in it, but
Yeah.
at times, like, did you uh ever like actively go to therapy or that sort of thing to
I did. I love healing, like healing work. So whether that's like crystals or meditation or literally seeing a healer, a shaman, things like that. I'm into all that kind of stuff. Talk therapy, I did try. I wasn't good at it because I didn't feel like telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth because I wasn't in touch with those feelings.
right?
Mm.
Didn't want to really feel those feelings. So talk therapy means shit when you're not really showing up. So
When did
even
you
that,
allow yourself to be vulnerable?
only when I was really drinking, or if I was like taking Molly, and then I'd be
Okay.
like, on in the world, and then let me tell you how I got to. Because I also was one of those people who never cried. I didn't cry. I
Are we the
didn't.
same person? Damn.
No, I'm serious. I didn't cry really. I mean, one of my besties, E Lefty, shout out to E Lefty, I remember one time she got big boobs. One day she was like, "Girl, please, you need a hug. Please put your you need a head, put your head on my bosom, and it's okay to hug." She was like, "It's okay. You're my friend. Like we can hug you." Like I just didn't grow up in a family of touchy, lovey.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
it took me years, but even, and I talk about this in the book, I also grew up in a family that I didn't really know how to communicate, going back to communication, whether it was good or bad. So,
Yeah.
like, we didn't say, I love you, you kind of knew it, but we also really didn't scream or argue. It kind
You
of was
know,
just quiet or crazy in the
yeah.
house.
Do you find yourself counteracting that with your own child?
As in, like, if you grew up in a colder family, do you find yourself being
Oh,
overly
I
warm
am
all
the
the time?
smotheriest mother of
I
all.
figured
Like
that.
he be like, he's 2.5 and he's already like, Mama.
I can't breathe.
It's very important.
Like,
I was wondering how you incorporate, to Bill's point too, I was wondering how you incorporate all of this history and stuff into this new life that you live in a whole nother country. Like, I'm thinking, do your stepkids even understand the legacy of who you are? And then the Philliness, like
Yeah.
how, because I know even with your son, like how do you
And
still
your
let him get,
Bronx, Philly, British
yeah.
accent is really
yeah,
impressive.
the
It keeps on
Bronx.
morphing. Just listening to you talk, like all of a sudden we're in
I know
somewhere
there's like I have a
else.
lot in me. It's funny because my son, he definitely has a twang on top of like British words. He definitely says stuff in a twang that is like, that's definitely Philly.
Yeah.
But having kids, I will say, is huge for me because even though, again, I didn't grow up in a house that I said I love you or we argued, when it did blow up, there was screaming. I don't want to be a screamy mom, but I want to be a tough mom
Right.
because I'm not into that,
Soft.
It's just not, I know it's not going to help with my kid, is that gentle
Being the
parenting.
best friend.
Gentle parenting, that's what it's
Yeah,
called.
being a best friend, so I'm trying to figure that out. I'm trying to figure out how to.
Oh, there's a nice middle in there. Like, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
definitely
You gotta
scared
be
of I'm
both.
scared of my mother, but she my best friend.
So I'm trying, I want that because the other thing was I was so terrified of my mom, I wouldn't come tell her anything. So I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
want that either. So
Tell her.
I am trying to, I want, and it's a constant thing. I talk about this now in therapy, of how I want to be and how I want to be for him. And, Philly is always here. Like you could take the out honey, but you can't take the,
Okay, good. I was like, does he hear this? I need him to hear it
oh
sometime.
yeah,
Like,
no. And when we come
your ass
home,
down somewhere.
oh yeah, no, we don't play that game at all. We're not having it. We're not having it. And plus I'm still scared of my mom. I'm 45. Julie don't play games.
Yeah,
Okay.
even do Kareem.
Julie don't play no games.
Your mama
Okay?
tall, so I was scared of her too.
You know what I'm saying? She's 5'9".
I have to say that what I really admire about your journey is you allowing um allowing love in a way, because I think it's major if you leave your home base to start all over again, far away from which you came. And probably one of my biggest faults is a lot of decisions I make are based on other people. In other words, like I would like to move but nah, I can't because I got to be here. But I got to be in proximity of. It's almost like I put myself eighth or ninth on the list, and so even though I don't consider this 100% like walking away, but how easy or hard was it to really make this decision where you're walking away actively recording, walking away from the talk, from acting, all those things, to find love, to put your family first, to that sort of thing, and put your family first. Like, I really want to ask you, what is that like? Because I think I want to do that soon.
We wasn't mad at you for leaving Queens. We was like, you got to do what you got to do.
I got
We
to.
wasn't mad. We was not mad.
I talk about Queens in the book as well. It took me a long time to respect my feelings, to respect the things that I really want that actually bring me actual happiness without feeling guilty. Because we can make ourselves feel so fucking guilty about things. And I would say being in the industry breeds that fucking guilt as well. Because sometimes you have a manager or an agent or somebody that's like, you can't say no to this opportunity. Yo, if you don't do this right here, then we're gonna fuck up this over here. And then this, like, and I think, once I kind of got myself through and understanding what my anxiety was, why is this anxiety? Why am I trying to numb myself? Why am I I got all this shit going on, but I'm still not very happy. I feel lonely. Why am I drinking so much? Why am I all those questions kind of came down to like, what is it that you want? What do you want? What is it that you want? That shit's hard. It's still hard. It is hard. And now that I have a kid, it's even harder to be away. I wish my mom was around the corner. That shit is hard. You know, I never thought about it before then because I was so okay with being like, all right, I'm out. I'm out. When it comes to being at home, the Philly, I would say. When it comes to business opportunities, yeah, that definitely took a little bit longer. But like walking away from the talk, for instance, was the major decision for that was we were in the midst of the whole pandemic. But then I was getting older and I was like, I want a kid. And I can't have it's just impossible to try to have a kid when I'm in LA most of the time and he's in London most of the time and I'm only flying in 2 weeks out of the freaking, every 2 weeks. So that made that decision, while it was hard, because I actually really enjoyed, it was such a crazy thing to say. Like I talk about this in the book. I appreciated that opportunity. I needed that opportunity, but it served the purpose that it
Your
served.
voice was needed, like in that as a person who watched, like.
Thank you. And it also helped me. Like it was the first time that I was vocally vulnerable.
Yes,
It
you
was
were.
my foray into vulnerability because I can't sit at this table and not really talk about myself and talk about things that are going on. So I do think it helped me in a lot of ways and with issues I had with myself. With Queens was, when I watched it back, it is such a great show, but it was such a hard shoot. And it was the first time that I would talk about anxiety. Like I was at anxiety master level, like anxiety final wall.
Who was number one on that call sheet? It looked like it was, that was.
And I was pregnant and I was like, here it is. I'd gone through all this fertility stuff. And I'm like, here it is. I'm now working my ass off. Am I going to mess this situation up? Am I going to mess the baby? I was always at the doctor. I was like, it was so many things going on that I was just like, I don't want to have this kid and be on a set for 16 hours. I'm an older mom. Like, I don't want to miss that shit. I just don't. So now my driving force of all things are like, can I bring him with me if it's going to be a while? Or if I'm away, it's 2 or 3 days. Like, I don't play when it comes to that.
Did you feel a force of support? I don't know how you feel it while you're going through what you're going through, but there was a community of women who watched you and Queen and knew what you were kind of going through and saw you leave that was like, felt it. Like she is of a certain age. She is making a fucking decision and she's picking her joy. And that's fine. You felt it.
That's unheard of.
I had to, but it's hard, but fuck me, man. When am I going to do it if I ain't going to do it?
We admire you because you did it. Like you did it.
And it's hard to talk whenever we do episodes in which someone has a memoir out and normally I will dissect and ice pick through everything, but then I want to spoil alert what's coming out. But I'll ask you, for your professional career, what were like 3 pinch me moments? Like, oh shit, this is actually happening. Like for you, I don't know if it's meeting someone or.
Yeah, nah. One is Prince, period. First point, like one, it's like one number one, but an umbrella of Prince being that he knew who I was, that I got to have conversations with him, that I got to be on stage with him and perform with him, that I got to see him. So Prince.
Nice.
The Grammy, of course, for my mom to see, because that was a big deal for me. That my mom got to see that I'm gonna be all right because I wasn't great in school. And
none of us were.
Yeah. That's 3. I don't know. 3, it's hard to just pick a few because I do feel that I am so grateful and so, I won't say, I like the word lucky, but I don't like that word lucky because I do believe I've had some.
I
think lucky is a good word.
Lucky is a good word. It is a
blessed is like a nice middle.
Yes. I've been super blessed. Career highlight. I mean, shit, I'm on a single right now with Shaka Khan and Sia, and it's called Immortal Queen. I'm sorry. So like I'm still having moments like, when the fuck would I ever think that I'd be on a song with Shaka Khan? Like, I mean, now if I get to meet her and do the song in person as I'm putting this in the universe, even just to meet her, I don't even care. I just want to sit and talk to her. I've met her before, but I've not like sat and spoken with her. So that would be.
You and her are damn near the same person, and
Yes.
on the same journey and the
Are
same
you
trajectory.
serious?
I absolutely encourage this. Yeah, she's been on the show. Yes. She's
No,
meditating in her
I
crystal
feel
room
like-
right now. I bet.
Well,
I know.
she came up, Kathy, remember? We
Yep.
saw that shit on TikTok. I sent Kathy,
Yep.
like, bro, she came up on my FYP, like, let's sit and meditate. I was like,
Oh, I didn't know she was on her meditation joint now. That's good for her.
yes. And it
Oh.
was a beautiful, like, was it a new moon? Or
Yeah,
something?
yeah. It was or was it Lions? Was it Lionsgate?
Lionsgate, one of them.
3 weeks ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it.
Kathy, because me and Kathy love the woo-woo. So we were very excited about
So
that.
does Ahmir.
She gave me a crystal, and it's somewhere.
Isn't it? Isn't
It's
it?
somewhere.
Eve, do you ever want to act again?
Yes. Yes. I will say yes,
Okay.
but also I want to be on the more creative side.
Okay. Directing.
Well, if not directing, definitely exec producing and creating.
Okay.
Me and Kathy been talking about some things. So
Oh, you
very
and Kathy? Oh, okay.
very
Okay.
exciting things, but yeah.
Well, I was going to say, what does creativity mean for you now? Like, is there a
Yeah.
season, as in, like, okay, the summer, I'll do 8 weeks devoted to, because I know you get a lot of offers. Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And it has to be like, how does Eve season versus Eve Jeffers?
Okay.
I am actually still figuring it out. I need to be more creative. I don't write as much as I used to. I think I'm project for project, which is fine, but I'm not doing anything that's serving my soul.
Okay.
I need to do a bit more of that. And that is my next hope. That's what I want to get into. I'm not doing anything that's serving that part daily, if that makes sense, or more consistent. Yeah.
I look forward to whatever it is, whatever.
I was about to say, now that you live in London, I wish you would cross paths with this cat named Inflo, who, I mean, in my opinion, like he is the one. Inflo's the only person that makes, like, when he comes to LA, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis ask to be his interns. Like, Inflo, of course, is the brainchild behind the group Salt.
Oh, they're awesome. Jesus.
Yeah, but also, like, for me, one of my favorite MCs right now is a London MCs, Little Sims.
Little Sims
Right, she's just out of her mind. Of course, his wife is Cleo Soul and everything. Like, right now, just the epicenter of the creativity that, like, gives me goosebumps lives in London right now. And so,
I agree with that. Definitely.
hopefully you guys will
That would be dope, Eve.
cross paths.
Yeah.
Like, you and Little Sims together. Jesus, I would love that.
Little Sims. I saw her last year actually at the Brits on the red carpet, and I was like, "Hi, Little Sims. She's so dope."
Do people geek, like, how is it when people geek out on you the same way that you were geek out on Lil Kim or whatever?
It is funny. It's really funny because what was funny out here too is like people be like, "Wait, you fucking live here?" You know how that British like where the fuck
they still haven't registered that?
No, some people, because I'm chill, like it's home. So like if people see me out, or if like where I live close to like Portobello, so like up Goulburn Road, if anybody knows about London,
Right.
like where the Rastas be or the Jamaicans be, they my cousins. Yeah, but like it's like because they now have seen me in the neighborhood so much, like
Oh yeah, you theirs.
which like it's all
Yeah.
good. I love it. It's been
I'm sorry, I got anxious. Eve, before you get off this call, somebody asked me, I have to ask you, hip hop wise, who is moving you? If you could just give me like even male and female, just is anybody moving you these days?
The answer could also be nobody.
I feel bad because the music I'm listening to, like the things I listen to, is not hip hop at
That's
the
okay
moment.
then. Give it to us because
What do you listen to?
I go back to like Kendrick. I go back to like I listen, Nipsey. If I want a little hip hop rush, like I listen to other stuff. But what do I listen to? I listen to a lot of
right.
I'm here. I listen to a lot of I'm a piano Afro beats.
I'm a piano. Okay.
I
Yeah.
love oh my God. I mean, Ray, I murdered that album. Ray is a British artist here who is so insane.
Okay, Kathy's shaking in agreement. Okay, let me look that up.
Ray's album,
RAYE.
it's an R&B. You know I love it. I'm gonna tell you, it's an R&B soul. She mixed a lot together, but lyrically, it's a hip hop album. You agree with that, Kathy? Like lyrically, it's like,
Oh, absolutely.
you know what I'm saying?
She came to SNL last year and like destroyed us. And
so I murdered that. And then what else am I listening to? I mean, I listen to a lot of solfeggio chill music meditation to keep my anxiety down.
you know what? All right. When this is over, either Kathy, whatever, give me your and don't get mad, like, yeah. And I promise I'll put you on the subscription list. All right, stop with the frown
Go ahead.
facing.
Tell her you're gonna put it on the music list.
You're getting the coveted.
Kathy's on it. I do this monthly for people. All right, like, yeah, I will add you.
We're together. Like, we're together.
Okay.
Yes.
Wait. Bill's like, hello.
Bill.
How about me?
Yes, I'll put the R thread into the list. I got.
I'd like to meditate a little bit, please, Ahmir.
Oh my God, I love the light.
What happens when someone picks the most unlikely song to define your career? For Earth, Wind, and Fire, it's September. For Run DMC, it's Tricky. Like, it's weird. Of all the iconic songs from Run DMC, for some reason, It's Tricky has managed to outlast everything. I believe more than anything, Blow Your Mind or Who's That? For some reason, Tambourine Tambourine is refusing to go away.
What?
It is still in my playlist. Like, I've not dropped it.
Oh, I love that.
In my sort of default, like my default 20, 30 songs that will always be in my joint.
I love that.
And I don't know, like when I spin it, I'll give you an example. 30 years ago, if I were to play the intro to Troy by P Rock and CL Smooth, the place like, shit, you hear the horns. For some reason, the screams for Tambourine gets louder by the year. Is there something I don't know? Like, did it become a TikTok sensation? Like, why?
And it's not the hook, it's the verse.
But yeah, is there a comeback for Tambourine that I don't know about? Because it is.
It's the song of Peloton.
It is the Peloton.
Shut up, Kathy.
I didn't know.
It's the Peloton song.
I forgot about that. I forgot they did use it for that.
Don't forget about that check, Eve. Don't forget about that check.
No, but I was thinking too, like, wait, what? I forgot. But I forgot. I did.
Okay.
Bless things.
As a person who has a Peloton ass clothes hanger.
Same.
Meaning, they sent me a bike. I've yet to get on that joint.
Damn. Not in COVID?
I literally was thinking
I've had that Peloton for 4 years, yo. I've not sat on it, but every last outfit of mine just hangs over it. So
it's good for that.
Yeah. No, it's a great song, but it's
a good bike, Ahmir. It's a good bike, though. We got it.
Yes, I love Peloton bike. Wait, you want a free Peloton bike? Like,
no, I just don't want them to take it. I'm just saying they pay Eve. You know what I'm saying? Good bike.
I know, but no. I'm just saying that for me, the fact that I get screams on that song Like I judge if a song is working if immediately when it comes on, people scream. And I feel like that song might be
That's so
like
crazy.
10.
No, it's funny about that song though, because that's when I was having kind of like issues at the label, and they were just like, this song is one, they said it was too pop, that urban radio was never gonna like it. So they didn't put anything behind it. They didn't work it at all because they immediately were like, and that song did its own thing, and urban radio actually took it before any top 40 anything, and it just did its own thing. It was a record they were like, this is not gonna take off. Like, so that's kind of dope. I'm kind of not mad at
It
it.
was because of that touch of go-go. They've been hating on DC for years.
It might be actually, though, for real. People don't know about the go-go.
Wow.
Maybe, I don't
This
know.
is our one thing story.
Right. A
This is our
Marie
one
one
thing
thing.
story. Right. So Kat, Kat, we said this last time. You actually have to come on and do a proper show.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I can unlock your storytelling. But just before we go, one, is there ever an intention? Like, do you start off at a project in the beginning? Like in your mind, what is the intention of your imagined sort of journey in telling these stories, especially of women in hip hop that often get overlooked when history's written?
The imagined story?
Well, not the imagined, like in your mind, is it like I have to elevate the story of people that might get forgotten about in history and
With my collaborators, right? Outside of the books I read on my own, I think there's a whole career, a whole body of work that is completely separate from a book. So the thing that I said to Eve was like, where do you want this to go next? Remember? And she said, I don't know, biopic, TED Talks, like all of those things. So there's a difference between like, I want this book to live on the shelf, and then that becomes the book in addition to the clothing line or the fragrance line. A lot of celebrities, as you know, view a book as an accessory, right? Like Eve viewed it as an extension of who she was. So going into the project, it's with that intent to reach multiple audiences the way her music has. You know what I mean? Because it could be that thing. I mean, we see celebrities all the time, like buy my book, and then also buy my shirt.
Mhm.
But that wasn't like really what this memoir is.
Especially since there's so much history, since she's made so much history. I see the whole TED Talk thing and like, yeah, this is a guide in a way too.
But also there's more books, right? Like there's more books to come. Like now it's like Eve's a
Yeah.
career author. So I think it's very different from
I was going
Oh,
Looking the part.
yeah, I was going to say, are there more stories coming from you as far as books are concerned?
I think the next thing will, yes, there are more stories, but more, can we say, Kathy? I don't know, more along the lines of the coming from the places I
more
learned,
self-exploration.
exploration and modalities that I use to help me get to certain places, if that makes sense.
Oh, it sounds like we're using songs and history. Okay, I got it. Okay. Okay. I'm trying to put the puzzle together.
No,
trying
There's
to
a lot
say.
of code. There's lots of code talk on Questlove Spring.
Yeah.
All codes. Oh, we don't know what
and
to
this
do
time not
anymore.
for me.
Yeah, for once.
Well, I will say that I appreciate you for staying up this late hour. I don't know what time is it over there?
No, it's not that late. It's 6:40. I'm putting the baby down right after we finish. So it's all
Oh,
good.
cool.
Well,
so proud of you.
I thank you for taking time out to speak with us. I thank you for
Thank you for having me.
your journey and your conversation and your growth and your book, Kathy. I thank you. And I'm serious. Let's give Kathy 3,000
Yes.
for her own episode and her flowers. So
Already talking about it.
Yeah.
Jake and Brittany. Yep.
we got to do this. But no, on the real, I'm really proud of you, and I'm glad that you blessed us with your art and your gift, and I really appreciate. And sad to say this is like our first real extended conversation
It
since
really is, which
we've
is
known each
so
other. It was nice
crazy.
to meet you, Eve.
But you know what? It's okay because everything's meant, everything as and when, and this was perfect timing, and I'm grateful and thankful. So thank you
Well,
for.
I love this version of you putting prioritizing your mental health and your family and yourself
Thank you.
first. And everyone out there, please support Eve in all of her endeavors.
Who's that girl?
Yes,
Nah,
absolutely.
nah, 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 nah. That's what I think every
Oh
time.
no.
Nah, 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 nah,
Philly's
nah,
finest
nah,
is
nah,
everywhere.
nah, nah.
Look at
Yes.
this guy.
Well, on
Oh.
behalf of
Oh, James is giving you kisses.
get out of here, James. Anyway, on behalf of Steve and James and Unpaid Bill and Kathy and Lightyear and Eve, thank you very much. This is Questlove. We will see you on the next go round, y'all. See you.